I wanted to talk a little bit about the Bibles that were used at President Donald Trump's inauguration, January 20th of 2025. And it's kind of an interesting history of these two Bibles, although Melania, his wife, held these Bibles as he was taking the oath. He did not place his hand on the Bibles, but she held them right there. So I want to talk about the two Bibles and where they came from and just the history about them. Donald Trump's mother was Marianne Trump, née MacLeod. She was Scottish Gaelic, and her dates are May 10th, 1912 to August 7th of 2000. And she was a Scottish-American socialite and philanthropist. She was the wife of the real estate developer Fred Trump and the mother of Donald Trump, the 45th and 47th President of the United States. Born a native Scottish Gaelic speaker in the Outer Hebrides, MacLeod immigrated to the U.S. in 1930 and became a naturalized citizen in March of 1942, and she raised 5 children with her husband and lived in New York City. Marianne MacLeod was born in the village of Tong on the Isle of Lewis. Raised in a Gaelic-speaking household, she was the youngest of 10 children born to Marianne MacLeod Smith, and that was 1867 to 1963, and Malcolm MacLeod, 1866 to 1954. Her father was a crofter, fisherman, and compulsory officer at Mary's School. English was her second language, which she learned at the school she attended until secondary school. Her paternal grandparents were Alexander MacLeod and Anne MacLeod. Her maternal grandparents were Donald Smith and Mary Macaulay. They were from the locations of Vattisker and South Locks, respectively. Donald died at sea, aged 34, when his sailing ship sank, a common fate for men in the region which was dependent on fishing. Some of the family's earlier generations had been forced off their land as part of the Highland clearances. According to one genealogical account, displaced families in Mary's village lived in human wretchedness, while nearby farmable land was used for sheep. Local historians have said properties at the time were indescribably filthy and that families in the area lived austere lives as fishers, farmers, and peat diggers. The outbreak of World War I weakened the area's economy and reduced the male population further. With several siblings having already established themselves there, MacLeod may have first visited the United States for a short stay in December of 1929. She was issued immigration visa number 2669191 at Glasgow on February 7th of 1930. And on May 2nd, MacLeod left Glasgow on board the RMS Transylvania, arriving in New York City on May 11th, one day after her 18th birthday, and she declared she intended to become a U.S. citizen and would be staying permanently in America. She was one of tens of thousands of young Scots who left for the U.S. or Canada during this period, Scotland having suffered badly the consequences of the clearances and World War I. The alien passenger list of the Transylvania lists her occupation as a domestic worker. Arriving in the U.S. with $50, equivalent now to $945 in 2024, MacLeod lived with her older sister Christina Matheson in Astoria, Long Island, and worked as a domestic servant for at least 4 years. And one of these jobs appears to have been as a nanny for a well-to-do family in a New York suburb. But the position was eliminated due to economic difficulties caused by the Great Depression. As a 2016 account in Scottish newspaper The National put it, she started life in America as a dirt-poor servant escaping the even worse poverty of her native land, having obtained a U.S. re-entry permit only granted to immigrants intending to stay and gain citizenship. She returned to Scotland on the SS Cameronia on September 12th of 1934, and she was recorded as living in New York by April of 1935 in the 1940 U.S. Census. Though the 1940 census form filed by Marianne and her husband Fred Trump slated that she was a naturalized citizen, she did not actually become one until March 10th of 1942. MacLeod returned to her home area in Scotland often during the course of her life and spoke Gaelic when she did. So MacLeod raised her children in the Presbyterian faith of her upbringing. On January 20th, 2017, the incoming U.S. President Donald Trump took his inaugural oath of office using a copy of the Revised Standard Version Bible. That's the RSV Bible, given to him by his mother in 1955 when he graduated from a Presbyterian Sunday school. So skipping forward to the inauguration of January 20th, 2025, Trump takes oath on Bible given to him by his Scottish mother. A family heirloom passed on by Marianne MacLeod in 1955 played a key role in the presidential inauguration. And these are the Bibles that Melania was holding as he took the oath, although he did not put his hand on the Bibles. Donald Trump took the oath of office on a Bible given to him by his Scottish mother as he was sworn in as the U.S. President for the second time. Marianne MacLeod gave him the book in 1955. After he moved on from Sunday school, age 9, it is embossed with his name and signed by church officials. Trump also used it in his 2017 inauguration. MacLeod grew up, as I said, in Tong, Isle of Lewis, and was a native Gaelic speaker. At the age of 18, she went to America to look for domestic work, one of the thousands of islanders who left Lewis, Scotland, after the First World War. And here's a picture of Donald Trump visiting her house in Scotland. Sitting on the windowsill of her house in Scotland. In the mid-1930s, MacLeod met Fred Trump, a property developer. The couple had 5 children. Donald was the 4th. MacLeod became a U.S. citizen in 1942, but often returned to Scotland. In Monday's ceremony, the president was sworn in using 2 Bibles that gifted by his mother and the one used by previous presidents, including Abraham Lincoln's Bible from 1861. Speaking previously, Trump said, "My mother gave me this Bible many years ago, and it is very special to me." Trump still has family ties in Lewis, Scotland. 3 cousins live there, 2 of whom are in the Trump family croft, which has been rebuilt since his mother left. The president visited the property in 2008 alongside Marianne Trump Barry, his sister, who died in 2023. MacLeod died in 2000 at age 88 and was buried in New York. The president is expected to visit Scotland this summer for the opening of a new golf course in Aberdeenshire. If it goes ahead, the visit would mark the first time he has been to Scotland since his victory in the 2016 election. So here's some more things to know about the Bible that Trump used at his inauguration. And it's tradition to use a Bible during the presidential oath of office, but it is not required. Only the oath is mandated by the Constitution. Theodore Roosevelt did not use a Bible when he was sworn in following the assassination of William McKinley in 1901. John Quincy Adams used a law text for his 1825 inauguration and sworn in aboard Air Force One after John Kennedy's assassination in 1963. Lyndon B. Johnson used a Catholic missal. Trump used his own Bible, which was given to him by his mother, and the Lincoln Bible for his swearing-in ceremony. The Lincoln Bible was provided during Lincoln's 1861 inauguration by William Thomas Carroll, clerk of the Supreme Court. That's because Lincoln's family Bible was still packed and on its way to Washington from Springfield, Illinois, along with the Lincoln family's other belongings. In 2017, Trump also stacked a family Bible atop Lincoln's while taking the oath. That recalls Obama, who also used the Lincoln Bible during his first swearing in 2009. During his second in 2014, he paired it with a Bible that had belonged to the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. While Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution requires presidents to take the oath of office, there's no requirement for them to use a religious text or any text at all while doing so, but almost all of them have done so on a Bible. The choice of which Bible to use is very personal and varied. Now here's a few more details. Some are repeated, but President Trump and Vice President Vance chose Bibles of personal and national significance for their swearing-in ceremony, continuing the largely symbolic tradition. Trump selected 2 Bibles according to the Trump-Vance Inaugural Committee, though he did not actually place his hand on either of them. He recited the oath of office with his right hand in the air as First Lady Melania Trump stood next to him holding the stack of Bibles. One was a revised standard version that Trump's mother gave him to mark his Sunday school primary school graduation in 1955, embossed with his name on the front cover. And the other was the Lincoln Bible, which was first used during that president's March 1861 inauguration. I can't even imagine holding Abraham Lincoln's Bible. That is just stunning and kind of gives me the chills. The velvet-bound burgundy tome, which lives at the Library of Congress, has been used 3 times since Lincoln took office. And that was by Obama and by Trump at his 2017 inauguration. Vance took the oath of office using a family Bible that belonged to Bonnie Planton Vance, his late maternal great-grandmother who raised him as his mother struggled with her addiction. Vance's stories of his grandma's resilience, protectiveness, and spunk dominated the 2016 memoir that propelled him to fame in Hillbilly Elegy, as well as his acceptance speech at the Republican National Convention. Mama, as she was known to him, gave Vance the King James Bible on the day that he left home for the Marine Corps Recruit Depot in 2003. The Constitution does not actually require presidents to be sworn in using the Bible, although many, dating back to George Washington, have done so, according to the Library of Congress. While Washington used a Bible opened at random and in haste during his inauguration, many presidents have intentionally chosen editions that send a certain message. Some, including Jimmy Carter and George Herbert Walker Bush, were sworn in on George Washington's original Bible. Others have used 2. Richard Nixon used 2 family Bibles, while Harry Truman used a facsimile of a Gutenberg Bible, as well as the Bible he used after Franklin Roosevelt's death 4 years earlier. In addition to the Lincoln Bible, Obama took the oath in 2013 on a Bible that belonged to Martin Luther King Jr. on another Inauguration Day that overlapped with MLK Day, just like this inauguration landed on MLK Day. Now here's a little bit about J.D. Vance's Bible choice. J.D. Vance uses his Kentucky Family's Bible for the swearing-in ceremony. While Vance is from Middletown, Ohio, Kentucky is a big part of his story. In his 2016 memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, Vance said that he spent many of his formative years in Breathitt County, which is in eastern Kentucky. Vance has written about spending summers at the home of his great-grandmother, Hattie Hounshaw, with his grandmother, Bonnie, whom he called Mama. According to our affiliate, WKYT, the Bible Vance used belonged to Hattie Hounshaw and his Mama, presented to him in 2003, the day that he left home for the Marine Corps Recruit Depot. The Bible is a King James Version published by Thomas Nelson and Sons. So here's a little more information about Donald Trump's mother. McLeod drove a Rolls-Royce that bore the vanity plates MMT, the initials of her name, Mary McLeod Trump. McLeod also acted as a volunteer in a hospital and was involved in school activities and charities, including the betterment of those with cerebral palsy and efforts to improve the lives of intellectually disabled adults. The Trumps were active in the Salvation Army, the Boy Scouts of America, and the Lighthouse for the Blind, among other charities. McLeod had a significant role in the Women's Auxiliary of Jamaica Hospital and likewise at the Jamaica Day Nursery. She and her husband donated time, effort, and services in several medical buildings around New York. A 228-bed nursing home pavilion at Jamaica Hospital Medical Center, where she spent years volunteering, is named after her. McLeod also belonged to several social clubs. As a parent, McLeod was more reserved than her husband. Friends of the children observed fewer interactions with her than with him. In appearance, McLeod was slight of build, but was known for elaborate hairstyle, labeled in one account a dynamic orange swirl, similar to the hairstyle her son Donald would later become known for. In 1981, Mary Ann McLeod's oldest son, Fred C. Trump Jr., died from complications due to alcoholism. As she grew older, Trump suffered from severe osteoporosis. On October 31st, 1991, at 79, she was mugged while shopping on Union Turnpike in Long Island near her home. She resisted the mugger's attempt to steal her purse, which contained $14, and then was knocked to the ground and beaten. She sustained broken ribs, facial bruises, several fractures, a brain hemorrhage, and permanent damage to her sight and hearing. A bread truck driver named Lawrence Herbert apprehended her 16-year-old assailant, for which Herbert was later rewarded by Donald Trump with a check that kept him from losing his home to foreclosure. Her assailant later pleaded guilty to robbery and assault and was sentenced to 3 to 9 years in prison. Mary Ann's husband, Fred Trump, died at age 93 on June 25, 1999, after falling ill with pneumonia. Mary Ann died 1 year later on August 7, 2000, at Long Island Jewish Medical Center in New Hyde Park, New York, at age 88, and services were held at Marble Collegiate Church in Manhattan. And she was buried alongside her husband and son, Fred Jr., at Lutheran All Faith Cemetery in Middle Village, Queens. The death notice in her Scottish hometown newspaper, the Stornoway Gazette, read, "Peacefully in New York on August 7th, Mary Ann Trump, aged 88, daughter of the late Malcolm and Mary McLeod, 5 Tong, much missed." So that's a little bit of the history of where these Bibles came from. And It's also not a requirement to actually place your hand on the Bible, apparently, so there's not really a problem with it. It's, you know, that you choose the Bibles that you want to have there with you at the ceremony. So he was sworn in as Melania, held Lincoln's Bible and his RSV Bible from his mother from 1955. So that's just a little bit of history, and wanted to share these things about the Bibles because there's now rumors going around about these events and these Bibles. So this is the truth about the Bibles, and that'll do for tonight. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for my new subscribers for subscribing. And thank you. I really could use some support on this channel. A couple of people have, but not too many. And it really is kind of urgent in my situation. So I thank you for that. And we're still believing that the Lord is coming, and this is preparing the way for his soon return. Have a good night, and sleep tight, and don't let the bed bugs bite. And I'm wearing my little Scottish, this is my actual family Scottish tartan. This is the Irvine tartan. And this is the bagpipes of Scotland. I will see you, and have a good night. God bless.